Welcome into the podcast today, the podcast that's 100% honest 100% of the time. Thank you for making this podcast a part of your day. If you have not yet hit that subscribe button wherever you are watching or listening to this podcast. We've got a jam-packed show today, and I've got a big-time conspiracy theory to deliver, and that is coming very soon. And there was also a graphic shared on X, posted by the best Minnesota Vikings account on X around, the Purple Persuasion. The Purple Persuasion somehow grabs things from everywhere and posts them in one place, from insiders, locally and nationally, from radio hosts, from the Minnesota Tim podcast when I have guests on. This guy snags everything from everywhere. So if you have not yet already, check out the Purple Persuasion Twitter account. And he posted this graphic, which came from somewhere else, but he reposted it to his site. And it says this: most playoff losses in NFL history. The Minnesota Vikings, of course, lead the way with 32. The Dallas Cowboys have 31. The Pittsburgh Steelers have 29. The Los Angeles Rams have 28. And the Green Bay Packers have 27. And I think our first reaction is to play the victim card and say, oh my word, the Minnesota Vikings somehow have the worst statistic in most playoff losses in NFL history. Shame on us. Woe is me. Minnesota, it's so hard living here. It's cold. It's brutal. The sports teams suck. And the sports teams have not won a title and are one of the most cursed sports markets anywhere. So there's no doubt about that. But when I take a look at this, 32 playoff losses, the most in NFL history, I actually think that's more of a compliment than really anything else, because it shows that the Minnesota Vikings have put themselves in a position to have playoff losses. The Dallas Cowboys have Super Bowls. The Dallas Cowboys, if they made the playoffs this year, they would be right where the Minnesota Vikings are at with most playoff losses. But they aren't, because they didn't make the playoffs. So this is truly a compliment towards the consistency of the Minnesota Vikings organization over time. And when you really think about it, when is the last time the Minnesota Vikings turned in a 2-14 season, a 3-13 season? It's been a long time. It's been years, going back to Christian Ponder. So, yes, this is one of those stats that Minnesota Vikings fans put their name on it and claim it and say, oh, why us? But when you really look into it, it's really a testament to how consistent the Minnesota Vikings organization has been in making the playoffs and giving themselves a chance to win playoff games. Yeah, we're the worst team in the league at losing playoff games. But that shows me that they're actually making the playoffs. So I think that's kind of a good thing. All right, as for my conspiracy theory, and there's no fact yet that has come out about this, but as the days go on and as information comes out, the Minnesota Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold clearly struggled in the final 2 weeks of the year. And here's a stat shared by Alec Lewis on X. It says this: Pro Football Reference tracks poor throws that weren't catchable with normal effort. Sam Darnold's poor throws in Detroit, he had 13. Sam Darnold's poor throws versus the Los Angeles Rams, he had 10. Before those two games, his highest number of poor throws was 8 in Week 14 against the Chicago Bears. So that's the stat. And then someone else did some further deep diving on Darnold's season and said this. This comes from Krauser on X. Darnold's bad throws, first 16 games, 64, 12.7%. Darnold's bad throws, his last 2 games, 23. That's 28.4% of his throws. The league average for the season was 15.9%. Darnold's drop-off over the last 2 games was comparable to going from Joe Burrow at 11.6% to Anthony Richardson at 28.0%, worst in the league. And here's where the conspiracy theory comes in. Sam Darnold signed a 1-year, $10 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings. He is entering unrestricted free agency this offseason unless the Minnesota Vikings franchise take him to a 1-year, $41 million deal, which it appears likely that is not going to happen following his 2 catastrophic games of the season. I am going to bet that sometime in the next few weeks, it gets leaked or reported that Sam Darnold was suffering an injury during the final few weeks of the season. And that is going to be the excuse from the representatives of Sam Darnold on why he did not perform well the final 2 weeks of the year. You saw how many times his hand got hit on an offensive line or a defensive lineman's helmet. We've heard that throughout the season he was battling injuries, whether it be his foot or ankle or hand. We've seen him come out of a few snaps during the course of the regular season because he got banged up. We saw him limping a few games late in the season because his ankle turned differently. His hand got knocked around uncomfortably, and we've seen him shake his hand. We've seen him limp on the field. So I'm going to believe and share that my conspiracy theory is that there will be a report that leaks to a reporter that shares that Sam Darnold is undergoing a procedure, a surgery. He is going to take months off because he needs to recover from this injury. And that is going to be the reason why Darnold did not play well. Now, that's coming from Darnold's agency. That's coming from Darnold's representatives. Now, he held on to the ball way too long in the final 2 weeks of the year. Against the Rams, what are you doing? Paul Allen almost bursted a vein because of how frustrated he was at Sam Darnold for holding on to the football too long. And when I take a look at the stats that were posted, first 16 games, 64 passes that weren't catchable from Darnold. And in his final 2 games, he had 23. Darnold's stock was at an all-time high. And his agency was licking their chops. They were going crazy. They were feeling themselves. Like, yeah, we're going to get $50 million on the market easily this offseason. And then the crash happened. The final 2 weeks of the year. And now everyone is wondering, like, will the Vikings even want Sam Darnold back? The Raiders, the Giants, bad teams in the league will still pursue Darnold and try to sign him to a deal. But it's certainly not as high as it would have been if not for these last 2 weeks of the year. So that's why the conspiracy theory comes in and I'm going to believe that it's going to be reported that he was battling something internally, battling something with injury these final 2 weeks of the year. You see it happen all the time. And this is a game. Right now, it's a game. The agency of Sam Darnold is going to try to get top dollar from the Minnesota Vikings or some other organization. And in order for Sam Darnold to completely sell himself to a franchise, to an organization, someone needs to come with, the reason why he played poorly is because he was dinged up. He was more injured than anybody wanted to let on. So that's why he struggled. That's why he performed poorly against the Rams and the Lions. So it's just a prediction. And I think that prediction is going to come true. It's not like predicting a score of like 27-24. It's not predicting a score where it's like, okay, you're just throwing crap at a wall and hoping it sticks. That's what scoring predictions are. You're just, okay, this guy's going to score a touchdown. They're going to 27-24. Sounds nice, I guess. Whatever. Trying to predict the score is throwing crap at a wall. But this prediction of a report coming out about Sam Darnold, sharing that he was injured, sharing that he was banged up, sharing that he was not healthy during the final weeks of the NFL season to preserve some value, I believe that's going to be right. Because why wouldn't you? If I was Sam Darnold's agent, I would say something like that. Because that is how they are going to get the most value out of Sam Darnold this offseason. Oh, he was battling an injury. That's why he wasn't throwing the ball very well. That's why he threw it behind Jalen Naylor. That's why he threw it behind Justin Jefferson. That's why he overthrew these guys. It wasn't the adrenaline or the nerves. The guy had a broken finger. The guy's finger was not healthy. The guy's ankle wasn't quite there. He needs a procedure to repair it, and then he'll be back to 100%, and then he'll be back to the 35 touchdown, 12 interception Sam Darnold that we saw through the first 16 weeks of the regular season. So, just a prediction, just a conspiracy theory on Sam Darnold and what happened during the final few weeks of his regular season. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you have not hit that subscribe button yet, please do. Thank you for making this podcast a part of your day.